Hey, what is up? It's been like 4.5 years and this car right back here has just been screaming at me. The rear diff in it is just really bad. I think the bearings are all going out in it, so it's just whining super loud. It's really not fun to drive around unless you can get past that, which I've been doing for 4.5 years. But finally, it is time to pull the rear end so that I can rebuild it and drive this thing around a lot more, because I won't be so annoyed by the rear diff screaming at me. So right here I've got all the rebuild stuff for the rear diff with the bolt here, crush washer, crush sleeve, and then the gasket for the housing right there. And gonna get it pulled off today, get the rear end on jack stands, pull the axles. Tomorrow night, a friend of mine is gonna come over and help me try to rebuild it and see where we get with it. So let's get the wheels off and start taking the rear end out of it. All right, so before we pull the rear end, let me show you a little bit around here. Obviously, I've got a GTS rear end here, as you can see by the disc brakes. It's got a TRD limited slip in there, which we'll see later when I pull this out. I've got some lowering springs on there and some Tokiko Blues, which are very old. So this really needs a refresh at some point in time, because my suspension is really worn out as far as the shocks and the springs go. Other than that, got adjustable four link by Megan Racing, and then back here I've got the Technotoy tuning adjustable panhard bar and the drop mount to correct the geometry on it. And there's our rear end that we're going to be pulling out, and you can see my beautiful Fujitsubo exhaust here that's going up around the rear end. So let's get this thing unbolted and out of the car. All right, so I got the rear end out. Thankfully it was pretty drama free. I got it all drained right here, and there's the rear end sitting here in the sun. I think I might clean this up and paint it while it's out, because it's just looking a little old and got some surface rust on it. But yeah, just got to get this thing up on some jack stands, and this evening pull it all apart and see if I can get it all rebuilt. All right, cool. So I've got the rear end sitting here on some sawhorses, and now I just need to pull all these 12 millimeters off to get the third member off, just to get in where we're going to be working on this and see how bad it is in there. Oh yeah, now it is. All right. Set it right here.
No sparkle leaves.
All right, so I got the service manual, printed that whole baby out offline, and the third member right here. And then I'll flip this over and start scraping away some of the grime that's on here, just so I can get it real cleaned up, so I'm not just putting it back on super dirty. I don't know if I'm gonna repaint it or not, but if anything, we'll just get it cleaned up so it looks a lot better and doesn't get you super dirty when you're handling it. Oh, and all the bolts that went around it, I put in a Baja Blast with some brake parts cleaner, and just getting those shook around and cleaned up. All right, so what are we looking at here, Wayne? About 32 thousandths of backlash when spec is what, 8?
I didn't look at the manual quite. Cool. Axial run out of the ring gear.
So that just will spike if it's not even.
Yeah, so you'd watch it if it was off. At like the 180 degree mark, it would be like kind of like a failed brake rotor when you get that pulsation. So that's good. Not to like plug Black & Decker, but the amount of torque that this is actually putting down when you give it a little bit of pressure pretty much shits on Dremel.
It's not even Black & Decker, it's Chicago Electric, baby.
Get out of town. Harbor Freight, sponsor me. This is better than a Dremel.
It's really good.
Dude, it's like,
I love that thing.
As you push in, like with my Dremel, when I push my Dremel in, it like bogs out. This has gotta be
this thing
like,
torques down hard.
It's gotta be a quarter horse.
The power stand with the ABS lock. Oh, what do we got in the freezer here?
So if I sit up under the pie, I've got some auto pump shivs, and it's open bent. So just getting cold.
Just getting it nice and cold. So we can slap that bearing on. All right, so big surprise, didn't get it finished last night. As usually goes, we ran into problems. So what ended up happening was the pinion bearing could not get seated on the pinion gear, and no matter what we tried, we were not able to get it to slide on. We got all the other bearings on last night, just wasn't able to get that final bearing on and reassemble it. So now it's a waiting game. Gotta wait for a little bit of help to come back, because honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing with rebuilding it, and I don't want to screw it up. But I did drop it off with my friend Garrett today, and he put it in a 25-ton press, I think. And apparently got it all squared away, so should be coming back later. In the meantime, what I'm doing is just cleaning up this whole thing. Since I'm waiting, I figured I would, you know, hit it with the old brake parts cleaner and hit it with the wire wheel after that, and then paint this all just so it's nice and fresh again for putting it back in. Figure, hey, if I'm going to be waiting around, I might as well get it fresh looking so it doesn't look like crap when I'm putting it back under there. Here comes my kid right now. He just picked up the pinion bearing, or the pinion and bearing that's seated on it, so we'll see what that looks like. Hello. You got an ice cream cone there?
Dude, yeah.
You just hold it like this the whole way home?
Yes.
Why?
That's what he wanted me to do.
All right, well, good job. You passed the torch. All right, so big thanks to my homie Garrett. He really came through. Can't believe how thankful I am for this at this point after last night. Took everything he could give it with that professional grade press to get this thing on. So I'm really stoked on that. And he gave me this old school snap-on inch-pound torque wrench to use as well for getting everything back to spec, putting it back together. All right, so I've got the rear end. It's already in the car. It's pretty much ready to go. I've got everything bolted up. I need to do the brake lines and then tighten some of the 4-link and everything like that. But I wire wheeled the whole rear axle and painted it so it looks really nice here. Not so nice against all my rusty parts that are in here, but yeah, I got the 4-link here. I just need to tighten some of these, and I gotta attach the brake lines right here and bleed the brakes, and then we'll see if it actually worked with replacing the bearings and if it's a lot quieter. All right, so I'm about to fill the diff up, and one of the things I'm really excited about is this new gear oil that Valvoline makes. It's in a bag, so instead of needing to like pump the oil up into the differential housing, you can just squeeze it in there. Should be able to get around in tight spots and just squeeze it all out. They only have one of these, so I got another jar of it, and I'll just refill this up and squeeze it in as long as it works great. Oh yeah, look how easy that is. All right, so everything's back together, and to say I am nervous is an extreme understatement. This has been such a long process for somebody that's never done it, and I'm just really terrified of it not working correctly, being as it's my first time. So I did hear a little bit of a kind of a strange sound come from my axle when I was spinning the wheel. I don't know if it's just because it's fresh rear end, or if I'm gonna have bigger issues, but I guess there's only one way to find out, and that's to take this thing for a spin. Take it around the neighborhood and see how it does. I'm definitely hearing some sort of a whine. Well, there's a considerable whine. If you, I mean, I'm sure you can hear it. It's kind of about what it was before. It's not really any better, so that's super cool to feel that I did all that work, and it's still super loud back there. So I guess back to the drawing board, figuring it out. I guess the big takeaway here is that a couple things. One, I got new bearings in it, which is a good thing. So new bearings means that it's healthier, it's got less stuff breaking. I know that the rear end has tighter tolerances because the backlash was all out of whack from the bearings failing on it. And so I have the peace of mind of knowing that the rear end's a little bit tighter, even though it's just as noisy. The ring and pinion gear definitely are on borrowed time. They just need to be replaced. It's probably like $700 or $800, I think, for a new ring and pinion gear. So I just need to bite the bullet at some point and do that. When I do that, I'll just pull the third member out instead of taking the whole rear end out. Now that I have it painted, I won't need to go through all that. I'll pull it out and get that stuff replaced. And hopefully the journey for having a quiet rear end in my Corolla, so that I can actually hear the 16 valve motor in there as opposed to the whole rear end screaming at me, is it's something that'll be in the future. And I think at that point in time I'll have learned a lot. And the important thing is we're all just learning. You know, if you're not a professional and you're doing this in your garage just like I am, know that it's okay to fail. It's not really a failure if you learn something and the car still drives, so that's a big win. I can just drive it whenever I want. It's just like it was before. Just take a little bit of time, learn a few things, get a plan, and that's just part of the normal process of working on something, especially cars that are like 40, 30 years old, like probably a lot of people that are going to be watching this video. So thanks again for everybody that watched this. Hopefully you found it interesting, and I will be getting more videos out here shortly. Probably not the ring and pinion, but I'll be working on my other Corolla and maybe even cutting the trailer project in half and seeing how that goes. So stay tuned, and I'll see you on the next one.